C1. You are listening at FameTV.info. Mubai, be gentle. Mo Wen's face was pressed against the desk as he looked at the employees who were walking in and out of the window. She softly asked the man who was currently rampaging inside her body, Mubai, how about it? I have something to do. This was his office. Even though it was a single perspective glass and she couldn't see anything inside, she always had the shame of being watched. Before she could finish, Mubai smacked her bottom with a "pa" sound. She continued to move while curling her lips charmingly. Speak. The man's tone was cold and filled with impatience. Mo Wen's heart skipped a beat. Ever since her father had gone to prison, almost everyone she went to see had spoken in this way, but Mubai shouldn't be. He was the man that she loved and that she loved. He was the only person she could rely on. Mubai, you must have a way to save father, right? He tried to turn his face away, to look at him, but with his back to her, all she could see was the shadow of his tall body swaying as he leaned over her. Hee, you think too highly of me. Mubai sneered and used both hands to hold her waist. After accelerating, he let out a satisfied cry and left her body. Mo Wen was knocked unconscious. After he left, she slowly stood up and looked at him in astonishment. Mubai, what are you saying? The man in front of her was still the Mubai she loved. But why was it that the indifference on his face was so unfamiliar? After tidying up his clothes, Mubai gave her a nonchalant look as his lips curled up in mockery. Not only is Moen country greedy for the hundreds of millions of dollars in blood and sweat of the peasant workers, but they've even reduced the amount of work required to create such a project. The building hadn't been built yet, but more than a dozen people had died due to the collapse. Your life is in danger. Do you really think I have the ability to save him? If his words carried a strong sense of ridicule and astonishment, then the hatred on his face and in his eyes made her heart go cold. Mubai, don't you know what kind of person my father is? Do you really believe what you said about him? You. Mo Wen's eyes turned red and his voice trembled. Father used to like him so much, and he respected him so much. She even used to be jealous of him because of it, saying that they were the real father and son. But now, how did her Mubai suddenly become so heartless? Ha! Mubai sneered as he stepped forward and pinched her chin. His eyes narrowed as he coldly said, Mo Wen, I can guarantee that you won't be implicated by your father. It's already a righteous act. Mo Wen's body shook violently as he stared into his eyes in disbelief. However, he couldn't help but shiver. At this moment, only coldness remained in those normally gentle and doting eyes of his. Mubai, you're not such a person, she was interrupted by his cold impatience, because I didn't know your father was so greedy. Even if I, Mubai, was capable, I would not go save an executioner whose hands are stained with the blood of laborers. With that, he released her, turned around, and coldly said, Go back. Don't come looking for me for this. No. Mo Wen felt anxious. He stepped forward and held on to Mubai's arm as he anxiously said, Mubai, my father was really wronged. Besides you, no one else can help me. Shut up. I don't want to repeat the same words a second time. Mubai frowned impatiently and raised his hand to shake off Mo Wen's hand. Her frail body had not been able to stand steadily in the first place. After being pushed by him, she was pushed back a few steps and fell onto the table. The corner of the table hit her waist and her forehead just happened to hit the phone on the table. In the blink of an eye, dull pain came from his forehead and waist at the same time. Her heart felt as if it had been viciously grabbed by him. It was so painful that she held her breath. Just as she was about to get up, her cell phone screen suddenly lit up. When she inadvertently saw the familiar name on the social networking app's news headlines, her entire body froze and her eyes were filled with shock. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.